Hi, are you busy?
No, I just finished watching this really interesting documentary on TV about a guy named Clive Wearing. He's a man from England with terrible amnesia.
You mean he forgets things?
Right, he lost his memory. He had encephalitis, this virus that destroyed the part of his brain that controls memory. It happened over 20 years ago. Since then, he can't remember anything further back than about 7 seconds.
Really? He can only remember things for 7 seconds? Does he know his name?
Yeah, he knows his name and he knows who his wife, Deborah, is. I think he knows that he has kids from his first marriage, but he doesn't recognize them or know their names. He lives at a center for people with brain injuries. It was really amazing, though. He has signs around his room reminding him where he is. And he can't really leave the center because he might get lost or hurt. He has to have someone to care for him all the time.
That's so strange. And it's so sad, too. Does he know what happened to him?
Kind of. He knows that he was sick, but to him, since his memory pretty much erases every 7 seconds, every moment feels like his first moment following the illness. So, he wakes up in the morning and is excited to be alive. He writes in his journal, 7:30, I'm awake for the first time. Then a few minutes later, he has forgotten his previous waking and now has a new feeling of being awake. So he crosses out the earlier sentence and writes something like, 7:38, hooray, I'm really awake now. And then he'll cross that out and write 7:45, now is when I'm truly awake, and over and over. In this program, he saw the cameraman and the producer and said, you're the first people I've seen in 20 years. And then his wife came in and he was excited because he thought he hadn't seen her in 20 years either. They hugged and kissed as if it was a 20-year reunion. But really, she'd been there just a few minutes before.
Wow, that's crazy. I can't even imagine what that must be like for her.
Well, she was only in her 20s when he got sick. They'd just been married for around a year. I would have thought that she'd leave him, but actually, they're still very close.
That's amazing that they're still together. I don't know if I'd be able to do that.
I think she spent a lot of time with him for the first 10 years or so. She organized charities and tried to get good treatment for him. Once she got him into the new center, she decided she had to move on. She moved to the U.S. and got divorced from him. I think she dated other people, but she was never able to get Clive out of her head. I guess she finally accepted how much she loves him and how she can't be with him and can't be away from him either. She moved back to England. A few years ago, they got married again. Now she visits him all the time. He always asks when she's coming and asks her to please get here at dawn. Get here at the speed of light. They're still so in love.
Oh, that's so sweet. But what about his kids? How do they deal with their father?
Well, his kids are adults now. They said that it's hard to visit him. He enjoys their company when they visit, but he can't actually remember who they are. And, of course, he doesn't remember that they ever came. So, in a way, it doesn't matter much whether or not they do visit.
Wow. What does he do all day?
Well, he doesn't read books because he has trouble remembering the sentence before. It's the same with television programs or movies. He can't follow a storyline. But he does like to watch sports since he can enjoy it without remembering the previous events. One other really interesting thing, he was a brilliant musician before he got sick. Amazingly, after the encephalitis destroyed his memory, he still had his musical skills. Well, for some reason, he can still play the piano. He spends a lot of his day at the piano. It's actually music that gives him a lot of comfort and satisfaction in his life.
That's an amazing story. I hope I can see the program sometime. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Film Strip. Tonight, we go behind the scenes on the new movie, The Forger, which will be in cinemas later this year. The Forger is a remarkable true story about one of the biggest art forgery crimes in history. The hero of the film is John Myatt. When the film starts, Myatt is a schoolteacher in Staffordshire, in central England. Myatt is a frustrated artist. He went to art school, but was never able to make enough money from his painting. One day, he comes home early to find his wife with another man. She leaves him and their 2 children, and Myatt soon finds himself overworked and broke. Now, Myatt is not a great painter, but he's a brilliant imitator. He can copy the paintings and styles of famous artists. So he puts an ad in a magazine. Let's hear the clip.
Yes, hello. I'd like to put an advertisement in next week's issue. It reads, Genuine fakes from £150. Yes, that's all. And my phone number.
There's nothing illegal about copying art, a genuine fake, as Myatt called it, as long as you sign it yourself and don't pretend that it was really painted by someone else. Myatt's business was doing well for a few years. He copied paintings by Monet, Klee, Nicholson, famous 20th century artists, and he was able to spend more time with his children, Amy and Sam. One of his best customers was an art collector in London called John Drew. Drew had bought many genuine fakes from Myatt, and the two Johns had become friends. Then one day, Myatt received a phone call from Drew that changed both of their lives.
John, do you remember the copy of the Albert Glaze painting that you did for me recently?
Yes, of course. It took me a long time. I thought it was rather good.
You're not the only one. Someone at Christie's yesterday thought it was very good.
Christie's? The auction house in London? That's where real paintings are bought and sold, not my fakes.
Not anymore, my friend. I sold your glaze as a genuine glaze for £25,000.
You did what? But they'll find out it's a fake.
No, they won't, John. I wrote some documents to give the painting a history. Old paper, old typewriter, who cares? The buyer likes the painting. He thinks he has an original, and you've earned £12,500. Come to London. I'll give you your money. Cash, of course, and we can discuss our next project.
I don't know, John. This can't be legal.
How much do you earn as a teacher, John?
About 13,000.
You've just nearly doubled your salary.
How can Myatt resist an offer like that? Almost $25,000 for a forgery? He can't. And over the next few years, Drew and Myatt sell £1 million. That's nearly $2 million of fake art to dealers and museums all over the world, including a Giacometti which sold for $300,000 in New York. Drew is the brains behind the operation. At one point, he tells Myatt that he's not doing it for the money. For Drew, forgery is a game. He wants to trick people into paying for a fake as if it were genuine. He goes to extraordinary lengths in his deception. For example, he tricks his way into 2 top art museums in London and leaves photographs of the fake paintings in old catalogues. Then, when he's auctioning the painting, he can go to the museum and prove that it's the real thing. But of course, it has to end. You might remember the court trial in the late 1990s. Drew was so good at forgery that he faked 2 heart attacks to delay the trial. Eventually, though, both Drew and Myatt were sent to prison. Drew was there for 6 years, but Myatt cooperated with the police and he was only imprisoned for 4 months. The judge recognized that Drew was the one who was really committing the forgery. I won't tell you the twist to the story after Myatt gets out of prison. It's almost too good to be true. But it is. We will tell you that Myatt became more famous because of all of the publicity, and that he now sells his genuine fakes, properly labeled, for up to $10,000. How much money did Myatt make for his forgeries? About $26,000 a year. About the same as his teaching salary. The Forgery hits the big screen later this year.